All right, we're back. We've got some great topics. The next one up, of course, NHL Realignment. Sounds like the NHL will start faxing their votes and determining if there's going to be the new divisions. Now, of course, there's going to be 4 instead of your standard 6 that we have right now. 14 teams in the West, 16 teams in the East. You'd have both Detroit and Columbus moving over to the Eastern Conference. Good move on that point, or do you feel that maybe they should be even at 15 apiece?
You know, it's a tough situation. They're going to have to juggle a lot of different things. And I think right now, as they have the alignment, it's probably the best thing for both conferences.
I like it. It's going to be interesting to see Detroit, which is very close to Ontario, actually in that conference, playing Ottawa, playing Toronto, playing Montreal. I think it's going to be exciting for the game.
That's good. It's going to help them, but you got to think, like, in that Central Division, you also have Tampa Bay and Florida. Obviously not big rivals with Toronto, Montreal, or Ottawa, but yet they're still in there. I understand that you have to at least keep some kind of contingency. Columbus has moved over to the Atlantic Division. At least the fans out there will get to see, you know, Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin a little bit more, but doesn't it make you scratch your head a little bit?
Well, it's, you know, Tampa Bay and Florida, they're in a tough spot with the rest of the teams in the NHL. Where exactly do you put them? You can't put them in Atlantic. You have to pretty well put them in the Central because you can't put them in the West. So it's a tough spot for them.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how it all shapes up. I don't know too much about what they're going to have to deal with, but nobody goes to watch the games there anyways.
Well, besides NHL realignment, a lot of things that have been in the topics of late have been visors and staged fighting. Of course, unfortunately, David Zerzinski was in a staged fight against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Fraser McLaren knocked him out. And it was pretty sad to see that Zerzinski was just laid out cold. Now there's been the topic that we should just ban not necessarily fighting, but the staged fighting altogether. And this has been a recurring theme for the last 2 or 3 years now. Do you think we should start moving into that direction a little bit? It's one thing when you have it just in the heat of the moment, but to have these staged fights to avoid things like this occurring more often would be the best thing for the NHL.
Who's going to be the instigator of whether it's staged or not?
And that's the tough part, because I know the Western Hockey League has come down hard on stage fighting. You know, back in the day, you know, the guys would drop their helmets, drop their gloves, move to center ice, you know, wipe themselves off, and then get into it. Now that's a stage fight. But when you have tough guy after tough guy, the only guys who are fighting really in the National Hockey League are guys that are supposed to be fighting, and that's what they're paid to do. So all of a sudden you're telling these guys that are paid to fight, you can't fight because it's a stage fight, because you're fighting against their tough guy. That's a discretion, and that's tough to call, you know, and I feel for David, you know, and it's going to be, you know, tough for him now. Hopefully he gets a recovery and he has to go back down to the minors and recover from that. Hopefully he gets another shot to go up to the big. So unfortunately for him, I don't know if that was a stage fight though again. It was in that kind of the heat in the moment. He had to be the tough guy, and he took on probably the wrong guy who wanted to take on that situation.
I don't get, like, see, that's a stage fight because they were at center ice and they dropped the gloves. They were ready to go. They talked about it. But then you look at what happened to Charo, and his teammate got hit, and he went out and took it on Yemelin for Montreal. Or it happened last night when Chris Neal was hit from behind. Then the Ottawa player came in, Weirkoch, and fought. Those guys who come in to back up their teammates are getting 17 minutes in penalties when they're just sticking up for their teammates. That's more than you get for a 5-minute stage fight. That's what I don't get.
So is that a stage fight? Because I took out your teammate from a hit from behind. I jump in and grab him and start pummeling on him. Now is that a stage fight? Now that's a thing. It's a lot of how you're going to really, you know, determine what is a stage fight and what isn't.
Mark Stahl, the issue that he got hit in the high, it's the last thing you want to see, especially a player to lose his career via that injury. But now there's been talks about visors being mandatory or grandfathered in. You even had Wayne Gretzky talk about this, saying, you know what, why do they have to take them off after junior? Let them keep it throughout their career. Let them move up. Very similar to helmets, I guess you would say, when they started having that grandfathered in. Does it make sense now to have players wear visors, or should it be an option for the players to do so?
I can't see why it wouldn't be their option. Like, we're just talking about the fighting. It's a 2-minute penalty if you instigate a fight with a visor.
Well, I guess the rules would have to change in the instant, but if it could save someone's eye, or
yeah,
you
but
know,
why
I
isn't
think
the
that'd be
player
best,
worried
wouldn't it?
about their own eye? Why do we have to? Why does the NHL have to worry about their? Shouldn't the players say, you know what, I should wear a visor so I don't get hit in the eye?
You think they would, but you know, it's a real machismo kind of thing, you know. And if you're, we just get back to that stage fighting. If you're a fighter and you like to drop your gloves every once in a while, you're not going to put a visor on, because that is not the code, right? Not the NHL code. But you look at Brian McCabe, his career was cut short because of it. Maholta in Vancouver, he was basically
And he
told
can't go anywhere
he
now
can't go
because
anywhere now.
the Canucks won't let him because of their fear that he would get hurt again, or they lose out on the money.
So when these guys have a very short window of opportunity to make money being a professional hockey player, and if a visor keeps your career a little bit longer, I can't see why you wouldn't put a visor on.
Is it? I know, like I've worn a visor before and not. Does it really make that much of a difference? Is your vision that much better without the visor?
No, I don't think it makes a huge difference. And the visors, they come in such a far way from where they were back in the day to where they are now. The vision that you have from one, that if you're wearing one or not wearing one, doesn't make any sense of why you would not wear one. There's you know, so many different variables that come into a game, from a stick hitting you in the eye, from a puck hitting you in the eye, anything that can happen. It's just as a split-second kind of game that put a visor on and save your career.
Kasper's Daugavins shootout attempt last night. Ottawa taking on Boston. Was that unprofessional of him to do so, or was it just a part of entertainment?
I'll let you take this one.
That's horrible. What he did last night around the Bandits, talked to one of my players this morning about it, and I said, would you do that? And he said, no, I would not do that. And if one of his teammates did that, he'll kick his you-know-what after he did that. I think you can do that in practice, you can do that in an all-star game situation, but not in the National Hockey League and not in a game situation.
It was a shootout. It wasn't like he was on a breakaway.
Then why don't we just put a hat on, glasses on, too, like Ovechkin did in the All-Star game?
You know what,
and make it entertaining
That's
then.
different.
You know what? I don't necessarily think it was that bad, but I don't think that games like this, 48-game season, when we're down to the end of the year, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 points from a team making it and not making it. Would you be angry if your team, the Ottawa Senators, missed the playoffs by 1 point from a shootout loss? Like, I don't think that shootouts should control who's in and who's out when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's
that's a totally different debate, though,
it's
too.
it's a skills competition is what it is.
Yeah, it's just like in football. If all of a sudden it's tied, we're just going to line up our field goal kickers and kick field goals until we decide the winner. But that's another debate. But as for what he did last night, they interviewed Rask after the game. He wasn't very happy. He got the win. But if he would have scored on that, that would have been a highlight that's been going to be in the vaults for years. And Rask is going to be the goalie that let it in. And yeah, he would have went off.
Both Claude Julien and as well as Paul McLean did say that they had no issues with it. So if you have both the head coaches saying they're fine, that's all right. But we're going to have to take a quick commercial break before we get fined. Of course, we got Over Under coming up next.